Hi, this is Melissa from Under the Radar, where we tell the stories of awesome individuals and what makes them so awesome. In my latest interview, I sat down with Lauren and Gabby from 2WokeGurls podcast. Every week, Lauren and Gabby give their unapologetically Black insight on everything from education to doing hood rat things with your friends. I hope you enjoy our conversation, and to see more interviews, go to www.undertheradar.com. Peace and thank you.
Three words to describe myself. I'm gonna say silly because that's what I've been since I got here. So silly, smart / intelligent, and devoted.
Loud, liberal,
Yes,
and headstrong.
I like those. Those are good.
Headstrong.
I would say silly.
Silly.
Yeah.
Why silly?
Oh, like the older, I mean, silly is probably not the best word, but I can't think of another one right now. But I would say that's probably, like the older I've gotten, the more comfortable I've got with myself. And so I think the more comfortable you get with yourself, the more you allow yourself to not take stuff so seriously.
Right.
And so I feel like I laugh at something silly every day, like whether it's with my friends or whether it's by myself or whether it's just me being clumsy and bumping into something at the house, and you just like, bro, I have bruises that I can't explain. So I think silly, yeah, like because I'm getting more free. Like the older I get, the more free I try to get, and so I think silly every day.
So I guess I'd say headstrong, and it's just because between the work that I'm doing and my family lifestyle, like I'm always kind of having to just be in charge or be in control of something. And I have terrible listening skills. I don't listen to people. And so when you don't listen to people, you got to be able to like be confident in your own decision making, because you just, Lil Wayne said, I'm my own consultant, talk to myself. So yeah, you got to be headstrong. Because like I'm my own consultant, I'm my own source. Like I try to listen to people, but I just feel like in a lot of situations, especially just kind of in the working world, like Black women, a lot of women of color deal with imposter syndrome, where we know things and we're experts in our field, but we don't have the confidence because we just kind of want to defer to white men as being in charge. And so I just feel like a lot of times I like to tune and turn things down, consult myself first. If I just obviously, can't figure out or come to a solution, then I'll reach out for help. Like I'm not that crazy where I don't need no help. Right. But I do like to try to listen to my inner voice and rely on myself, because I have intuition. You have intuition for a reason. So, and it hasn't really steered me wrong yet. So I'm a union organizer. I graduated from Jack Yates Senior High School. I'm also a Longhorn, University of Texas. And my focus in school was sociology and African American studies, which is why I'm so liberal and crazy and progressive now.
Gotcha.
I work for one of the big hospitals here in Houston. I graduated from Texas Southern with a degree in health information management. Shout out to the College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, because we got like bigger degrees than everybody else. Like our shit is like this.
Really?
Yes. And I was like studying on everybody. But I digress. And so I do inpatient coding for one of the big hospitals here, and I forgot what else I was supposed to answer.
Where'd you go to high school?
Oh, I graduated from Lamar.
Yes, right.
So union organizing and representing is just kind of like, can we cuss? Cause okay, so like I'm a fake ass underpaid lawyer. Like that's really what I am. So one side I build a union, I recruit members, because in Texas we're a right to work state. So publicly, you have a choice to be in the union. So like in New York, for example, if you want to work in the school district, because they negotiate your contracts, you have to join the union to be a teacher. Here you get an option and a choice. So I always want to let people know, hey, we're the best option, we're the best choice. And then once people get into the union, if they run into issues, I represent them. So like termination, things like that.
So do you have a background in education?
No, I don't. I'm one of the few people actually in my office that doesn't, and because I do this job, I never will. I will never ever step foot in the classroom. And I just garnered a lot of respect for the profession, and I know it's a calling and it's a gift, and I just don't have either one of those. So yeah, I'll leave it to professionals, and I'll just like support you from the background.
And Miss Gabby?
I read charts all day, which everybody thinks sounds really fun because I get to work from home. And I tell people all the time the easiest way to think about what I do is taking a book in another language and having it translated back to English and then having it translated to another language and do that seamlessly and do that all day.
Right.
So I read medical records and read op reports and take all of those. It's kind of, I guess, maybe like word problems. So I take all of that information, synthesize it, figure out all of my rules for my professional guidelines and stuff like that, and put it in a system that spits out codes, and that's how hospitals bill you for whenever you go to the hospital. And everybody's like, oh, it's billing and coding, and I'm like, no, it's a little bit more in depth than the billing side of it, but
it's not data entry.
Yeah, like a lot of people think it's data entry, but the billing side is more data entry. But what I do is more like before you get to that stuff. I used to want to be a doctor when I was like a kid, and my mom has nosebleeds, and I walked in the bathroom one day and she was having like a really bad one, and I was like, oh, I can't do blood. I freaked out, and nobody took the time to kind of like explain to me that like surgery is a controlled environment. Nobody's gonna bleed. You know, like it's very rare that people bleed out, and so I was just like, well, I just can't be a doctor because it's blood and I can't do it. So, so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just do business or whatever. Graduated from high school, went to North Texas for a couple of years and was a business major, and I was in accounting, and I just remember being like, what the hell this man is talking? Like, I could not figure out what he was saying. Like, he was speaking English, and he was like a white man, so it wasn't like an accent, or it wasn't like a language barrier. I literally was just like, whatever he was explaining about debits and credits, it just not like in my brain was like, nah, girl. And I already didn't want to be at UNT, so I snuck back home like the summer after my second year. I came home for summer like normal, and my mom kept being like, well, when do we take you back? And I was like, I enrolled at TSU. So that was what the fuck? Because I've always been like a goody two shoes and never really booked the system at home, and so that was like the first time everybody was like, what the hell happened? Like, what's going on? But went to TSU, and I remember going through the whole, what am I gonna do for my major? And my mom was like, you've always loved science, like just go to pharmacy school, like that's what TSU was known for, like blah blah blah. And I was like, girl. So I'm looking at the pharmacy catalog, and I'm looking at the classes, and I'm like, I've been reading since I was 3, and I can't pronounce that word, so I probably shouldn't take that class, right? So not a pharmacy. So I'm just kind of like going through the catalog, looking at the different requirements for majors, and I stumbled upon health information management. Didn't know what the hell it was, but it was a healthy dose of science, and it was a healthy dose of business. So like, I took anatomy and physiology, I took biology, I took microbiology, but I also had to take HR and marketing. And so I was like, I could do those business classes. I didn't have to take accounting.
Right.
And so, when I was looking at the courses for like, when you get to your junior and senior level courses, I don't know what the hell, business practices and health information management, like, you don't know what that is. So you just like, sure, I can do this. And I did it. So that's how I wound up a major. Complete accident. And I actually did not want to do it. When I graduated, I was like, I don't want to do this. I had a couple of classmates that I graduated with who wound up going to nursing school afterwards. And I couldn't find anything else. Like, every time I would look for like a nonprofit job or just anything, like, people would be like, oh no, you're overqualified, or every job that I ever found was in my field, which for most people is like, oh, it's such a blessing. And for me, I was trying to get out, and it wasn't until maybe 5 or 6 years ago where I was like, well, maybe the universe is just trying to tell me this is where I need to be. Because I would apply for stuff like here, Lauren would be like, oh, we gotta open it at my job, come. And I would apply, have a shoe in and everything, and still wouldn't get it. And then I see something else for like an HIM job. And they'd be like, oh sure, come in. And like 2 days later, they'd be like, we want to make you an offer. And I'm like, I guess I'm stuck in this shit. So yeah.
Oh, I don't know, cause like I was like set on going to Prairie View up until like March or April.
Oh, sorry.
Like for real, like I was like set, like I wanted to be in the marching storm. No, girl, you know, like so. My dad and my mother are big TSU people, but everybody else in our family went to Prairie View. Like the only other people who are outliers are me and I have a cousin that went to Morehouse. Pretty much everybody else is a PV person. So my cousin has like a big position up at Prairie View, and so like I had a full ride scholarship just based off academics. So that's just like I was set to go. Went to Austin with UT because they would come. They would like UT and Texas A&M bothered the hell out of us our senior year. Like they were pulling us out of class, and I was going for the free food. Like no lie, I was like, oh, this is gonna take about 2 hours of class. I'm definitely going to go down there. And so they took us to Austin one weekend. We went to a football game, and that's how they kind of reel you in. And it's almost like cult-like, because that shit was kind of live. Like, we was doing all the little chants and stuff and throwing up the Longhorns. And so I came back, and a lot of people around me were like so negative, like, oh girl, you shouldn't even think about going to UT because you went to Yates, you're gonna have a really hard time. Like, people were telling my parents that, and so just me being an asshole that I was like, well, can't be that bad, can't be that hard, headstrong, can't be that hard, can't be that difficult. Went down there, like I say, Austin was about 2.5 hours. That meant like I wasn't super duper far, but it was far enough where my parents needed to call me before they just popped up on me. And that really worked out not to even be an issue because I had a baby my freshman year, so that was a whole thing. But it was just really an interesting experience. I just thought I needed to get out of my comfort zone because black schools, they just love on you so much, especially if you're like a student like me who did well. I always tested well, not necessarily the best behaved, but I was just always Miss Everything girl. And so I just needed to feel like, what was their real life experience? What is it like when you're just a number? And so I got that, and I needed that, and I'm glad I did because I appreciated Third Ward and just being black so much more when I came home because Austin is a weird place.
But the problem is you have people who went to PWIs who like look at people like us, me and Melissa, are like, oh, well, y'all can't hang because
you're like, well, in the woke world, people give me the side eye because I went to a white school. Like, people think, well, you care so much about, and I was like, y'all, if I would have went to HBC, I know I would have came out like the queen of respectability politics. I needed to go get my ass kicked by some white people so I could appreciate being a nigga. I went to Prairie View, I went to Grambling, and I had to struggle. Everything would have been paid for, and I done came back Third World like, why y'all niggas can't get y'all life together?
Like, so you ain't got to your passport?
I'd have been one of them type of Negro.
So you ain't going nowhere. You got James on, but you ain't been out the country.
Hermie came with the Grambling. Like, I would have came. I know me. I needed that situation. I needed to go in a world where people did not appreciate anything that I was about. They didn't care that my grandfather was the principal. Nobody gave a shit that my dad was in 100 Black Men. Like, no, you black. You taking up space for my white friend being here. You only got in because you was in the top 10%. Like I need to feel that. I need to know that.
My mama sent me to Lamar as a punishment for making it C. Yes, I still haven't let it go. I never will.
I can't talk about it because I almost ended up in Episcopal. Like, my mama had.
Let me tell you, when she pulled me out of Madison, here were my choices: Lamar, St. John's, Episcopal, or Yates.
I told my mom, don't waste your money because I ain't going. I'm not going. I will catch the bus and go somewhere else every day.
And as a moment of honesty, I was like, I don't know if I can go to Yates because you already tell me I got a bad attitude. I was like, I cannot get beat up every day. Like, I just can't do it. Like, Madison was cool for me because it was like, but like,
it wasn't even like that.
But like,
serious.
It wasn't. But like, in my 10th grade head, I was gonna get my ass kicked every day. And I didn't want to fight. I wasn't gonna do that.
I had more altercation at them Saturday Jack and Jill meetings because I was just being stressed out. Like, why are we here? Because we just wasn't doing nothing. I was
I was in top teens.
I was like, your mama a doctor, your mama a lawyer, your mama a teacher, my mama is this. Why aren't we helping anybody? We're just literally sitting around here to do like it's to this day. Like as adults, like I have to like get myself together. Like, Lord, we ain't nine no more. You ain't got to punch nobody. Like you're wrong. Just wave and walk out. Like I saw somebody's mama at one of my schools, and I was like, I want to backhand you, but you 100 and I'm 30 now. Like I need to relax.
That's how I was at church. Like I'm not gonna say the name of my church, but I went to grew up in like the bougie Black Catholic church, and if you're from Third Ward, you know where I'm talking about. And you know, like I would see people at church, and they would try to speak to me, but they wouldn't speak to me when we was at Lamar. And like my mama, that's when my mama found out her child was a little bit more like her than she thought. Because like somebody tried to speak to me, and I was like, oh, don't speak to me now. We're in front of my mama. And my mama was like, Gabby, we are at church. And I was like, I don't care where we are. I was like, when I see them on Monday, they don't talk to me.
And I don't understand.
Don't talk to me. And now we at church. I was like, because God supposedly knows my heart, so he know what it is. No, boo. I was like, in front of my mama, I was like, why are you so mad? I was like, don't do that. You're not gonna talk to me. Because they were like, hey, Gabby. And I was like,
oh, you see me now.
And my mom was like, Gabby, did you hear so-and-so? And I was like, yeah, I heard it.
I think the straw that broke the camel's back, my mama, the last like Jack and Jill thing she made me go to was like a UNCF gala.
Mm-hmm. And I would just be so fun.
And some girls
I was like, y'all, the top teams, and Blue Lights, it was all the little Black organizations.
But it was just this girl I kept getting into it with, and so one of them just came in my face, and I had grabbed about the back of her ponytail, and I was like, this can end tonight.
See, that's why.
And before I could get out the door, my cell phone was fucking blowing up. My mama said, get your ass to the front of that motherfucking hotel, get in the car, and don't say shit. And I was like, fuck, I should have just hit this bitch. I mean, but I was so mad. So mom was like, that's the last time. I mean, I can't believe you embarrassed me like that. And I was like, well, I told you stop making me go. But, and like now that I'm older, like I realized that I was always an activist in my heart, and that wasn't the right way to like express that. But because of what I was really wanting to say is, hey y'all, we're kids less blessed with everything. We have so much. Like I go to school with children who are like having to work to pay bills. Why can't we like use these resources and these opportunities we have, like give somebody a leg up? Like that's all I wanted to do, but I just didn't know how to do that. And so I was just like coming out like, no, I just want to punch you, but because I felt like there was so many things that Jack and Jill was like doing. Like we didn't appreciate any of those activities. We didn't appreciate none of that shit. But like my friends would have loved to like get out of Houston for a day to go to the San Jacinto battleship and walk around and fuck off for a day, like instead of having to deal with what they were dealing with. And so it just hurt me to have to go back to school because my mom just was always thinking like, you know, these Jack and Jill kids are gonna be like good kids because they come up from so many things. But them niggas acted a fool, and I would hate having to deal with them because I would want to act, you know, good when I wanted to. And then I would go to school Monday with kids who were trying really hard, who were smart, who were doing everything, just didn't have a social safety net, and they were denied so many opportunities. And I just felt like, even me to an extent, I squandered a lot of opportunities because I didn't appreciate anything, because I didn't have to fight and work for anything.
But I think elitism is also just built on that whole like the talented syndrome and all of that.
So I'm kind of just of the headspace. It really don't matter where you go to school. I think it depends on what you want to do. Okay. So like if I wanted to be a nurse, I wouldn't tell you to go to UT over Prairie View for the nursing program. I would say go to Prairie View because that makes more sense. You want to be an engineer, maybe go to A&M or something like that. I like UT. I'm, you know, a pretty proud Longhorn, but I'm not that beholden to it. And I think college experiences are just really individualized. Like there may be a person who looks good on paper who may not do well at UT, or there may be a person who's not looking so great on paper who may go to UT and excel. And I'm smart, but I'm smart in an abstract way. I'm just a good BSer. I'm really good at bullshitting. I'm really good at BSing. And when you are focused in an area that's subjective, like sociology and African American studies, where it's up to your interpretation, it's a lot easier to get through that program versus trying to go to anywhere, TSU, Prairie View, or UT, and be like a mid biology, chem major. So it really is just kind of like up to you. I will say there's not a whole lot of individualized like loving on you at UT. Right. Like when I walked into the financial aid office, LAS 2465, like Lauren Simmons. I had to like learn how
so
to
they
talk
don't
to
know
people.
who you are.
Well, I took classes at TSU. I would come home in the summer and do stuff at TSU, and like my cousin works in the registrar's office,
right?
And so I would walk in and she'd be like, "What you need, Lauren?" And it's just a whole different experience. And so I've seen both sides, and they both have their pros and cons, but I think it's just really kind of up to that individual. I will say there's not a whole lot of individualized like loving on you leads.
Right.
Like when I walked into the financial aid office, LAS 2465, like Lauren Simmons, I had to like learn how
so
to
they
talk
don't
to
know
people.
who you are.
Well, I took classes at TSU. I would come home in the summer and do stuff at TSU, and like my cousin works in the registrar's office,
right?
And so I would walk in and she'd be like, "What you need, Lauren?" And it's just a whole different experience. And so I've seen both sides, and they both have their pros and cons, but I think it's just really kind of up to that individual.
So before we get to 2WokeGurls, I also want to finish. So as you working in the union, what does your day-to-day look like? Or why would it be important for, especially people of color, to probably get into that?
So for me, and I didn't know anything about unions like before I started working for them, but I did learn a lot of labor history as a sociology major. Because that's kind of where a lot of the first like studies of people were conducted, was studying and learning about people in working environments. Because work is just exploitative and horrible, so people want to know like, why do people get these jobs and die in 5 years or whatever? So because it's killing us. But so kind of getting into union work, I had an understanding of like unions kind of were the reason why women and people of color were able to have a level playing field job wise, because when you negotiate a union contract, like up in places where they have that, you can't negotiate like a segregated contract or like a woman's contract. Like everybody has to get the same pay, same benefits. And so for me, that was really compelling, because it was kind of like how Barbara Jordan's, like some people are revolutionaries and activists in the streets, and some people want to go through the systems. And so if you want to go through the system and make things work, and then it's all about language and laws and policy. And so things like that, contracts, union affiliation, and membership, are things that if you're not going to be in the streets fighting, then you want to make sure those rules are favorable for everybody, because it benefits us. So 2WokeGurls is kind of like my little baby thing. So I did have another co-host beforehand, and we were kind of just trying to figure out like how to amplify voices of like just regular black women. So like there's a lot of shows on TV like Insecure, and I think about the other girls that have Two Dope Queens and stuff. And I love to see that type of representation, but I just always felt like that's not my experience. Like I'm just regular black girl from Third Ward, kind of, with a bougie lifestyle. But I just felt like I wanted to see like more of me. Like I didn't have to like go through this like, moment of where like, oh, I'm I didn't like being black and now I'm happy to be black. Like I've always liked being black. Like this is not a new thing for me. And I just wanted to hear more of that and hear more about experiences like ours. And so we kind of came up with the show, and life happens, and so we transitioned, and I got a new co-host, Gabby, who was awesome. And it was just a natural like progression. Like I just reached out to her about doing the show. She wanted to do a podcast, and it just came together like really, really well. So we were about 4 episodes in with each other.
I think so, 4 or 5.
4 or 5, and it's just been going like really, really well. So it's been exciting. We need money. The show costs money to run, and a lot of times it's just easier to get local businesses. And also too, it helps us just kind of be in the community. We want to make sure that we're giving people a platform while we have a platform ourselves, and that's kind of, and it just works out well that way.
So Lauren, part of the reason why Lauren reached out to me is because I started another Instagram account aside from my personal account called OMG. And you asked earlier about like why didn't you become a doctor, et cetera, et cetera. But as I read charts all day, I was telling my close girlfriends, like especially when I got into OB charts, I'd be like, man, like all these women are getting cut, all these women are getting Pitocin, like all of these women are having these interventions during their birthday. Just reading it, you can see where it might not be necessary. Like the woman already came in labor. Why does she need Pitocin to augment her labor?
And what is
Pitocin is an induction hormone. It's a fake. The fake version of oxytocin, which is when it starts contractions and progresses labor along. And so, but most people, they go into the hospital, and like if you were in labor, you would come in and they'd be like, oh, you're already in labor, but we're still going to give you Pitocin. And it's like, why? Because it's a drug, so it's still, it's not necessary. Your body already produces oxytocin. You're already in labor. So to me, it was just kind of like, what is the reason for this? And then you would see that these women would either have episiotomies, or, if they were having a episiotomy is for a vaginal delivery. But if they didn't have an episiotomy, then they would have like these 3rd and 4th degree tears. And it was just kind of like, maybe if y'all didn't give the lady Pitocin, like she might have not torn. And I don't know the outcomes. Like I haven't done a scientific study, but it's just talking to my friends and talking about women's health in general and how it's so, we don't talk about it. I always use the example of, the first time that I found out that yeast infections were normal and not because somebody was a dirty hoe, I was like 20-something. Right. Because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about periods. We don't talk anything dealing with this down there. It's off limits. We can't talk about it. It's a lady, like you gotta, like if Lauren was sitting with her legs open, she gotta keep her legs closed. If her man was in the room, and just all kind of just crazy stuff.
Fish and not understanding natural sin.
Right. And so I just kind of was like, I need to have a platform. We need to talk about this. So I started it, and Lauren was like, oh, when she's had her other co-host was like, we would love to have you on the show. Like, women need to hear about this, et cetera, et cetera. And then, life happened, and she was like, well, do you want to do the show? And I was like, come on for a segment? Yes. And she was like, no, girl, like, be my co-host. And I was like, oh, okay. So it just kind of worked out like that. But it started for me with starting my Instagram account, knowing that I wanted to do a podcast anyway, and then just having someone who was like, well, you could just do this with me. So the documentary you saw was Death by Delivery, and it just talks about the health disparities between Black and white women as maternal, like in the maternal world. So I think it's Black women have a 3 to 4 more times likely to die than white women, and this is across socioeconomic status. And so we talked about that on that episode where
I'm sorry, John, but that was just what was so important, because people were telling me like, I didn't know that it, like, I was like, yeah, rich and still die.
And that's the thing where we're just like, this is racism, like, for real, because usually people think, oh, well, if I get a little bit of money, if I have a degree, like us three sitting in this room, especially being light-skinned women, like, everybody would just assume that we would have perfect and safe births, and we all graduated, we all have degrees, and we're,
of care.
We have the highest quality of care, et cetera, and no, like, across the board, white, like Black, I think in New York it was that the wealthiest Black women in New York were still 4 times more likely to die than the poorest white women.
Why? And what does the documentary say?
The documentary is just like, it's racism. It's racism. Like, there's no other indicator for why this would be happening except for racism.
And just different types of ways. So like the racism, the stress of racism. Everyday microaggressions and blatant racism you deal with is probably is gonna, like she talked about, you born with all your eggs. So that generational trauma, or even going to see a doctor who doesn't value and doesn't see the humanity in you, so they don't think that you're in pain, or they're just not paying attention to you.
So you're not getting the same medical care.
They're not, right. It's kind of like the Serena Williams situation. She went to the hospital. She's having needs. She's telling them, like, I can't breathe. Like, this is the kind of care that I need because I've had this situation happen before. So it's just weird to me. Just kind of like, it would be like Lauren having had a heart attack before, and her being in the hospital saying, here are the symptoms that are that I'm having a heart attack, and they're just like, oh girl, you ain't having no heart attack. That's just gas. But if you go back in history, especially with gynecology, white people don't think that Black women especially experience pain the same way. So there have been plenty of times, and I tell people all the time, reading charts all day, I see it, where you have, like, I might code a chart that's a Black female, and like they're saying they're in pain, and I'm like, I'm like, dang, they haven't given this lady payments, or they're giving her like the bare minimum. And then I'll get another chart where the person is not black, and especially not a black female, and they're on like 3 different meds. They're on opiate. Well, they're all pretty much opiates once you get to the hospital, but they're on morphine, they're on Norco, they're on hydrocodone, like.
Right.
And it's like they got gas. I mean, like they legitimately have gas or something, and it's like they've given them all these pain meds because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain. But so that bias carries over, and in medicine, traditionally speaking, doctors are still white men and nurses are still white women.
Right.
So if you have to deal with those internal biases plus the chronic stress of actual microaggressions of racism, it doesn't matter how rich you are.
Right. So it's safe to say that's why we need to have more people of color as doctors,
yes,
as nurses,
as midwives, and just across the board. When I went to my doula training, the first question that she asked us is like, why is everybody here? And I told her that I really thought that birth was the revolution, and that was like awesome for her because like I think if she doesn't have that trademark, she definitely is about to have a trademark. But I told her that, you know, like I knew activism, like in the streets marching, that wasn't my ministry. Like that's just, and I think that people feel guilty for not being on the front lines and stuff like that. And for a while I did, until I was like, but there are other ways to contribute. And I had to, you know, dig deep and figure out what it was. And I've always been interested in science, always been interested in healthcare. And I kind of just was like, oh, women, black women, they're dying. We need, and so that's
it's the core of Black Lives Matter, because you can't even
you bring life into the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't even bring life into the world.
Exactly.
Gabby's like really organized, so like we meet, like she makes us like have a meeting and we sit down and kind of plan out episodes, and then like, or something wild will happen. So like Death by Delivery is something that we had saw a month ago, but because all these different things kind of, we had like the Nola Boy guys on, and then we had Cassandra Jones came on and talked about education. It just got pushed to the back burner. So we were able to talk about that, and then like next week's episode we'll be talking about like gentrification in our neighborhood and stuff, and so we'll have a guest on. It's different. For me, it was extremely important. So like that's like directly across the street is my church, right behind Project Warehouse, the middle school that I attended. So like Third Ward is just kind of just where I grew up. It's just a centralized place for me. It's like it's just really everything to me. So kind of seeing that project and seeing somebody tackling like the issue that I feel like is a huge issue for my community, because I'm watching my friends and loved ones not be able to afford to live here anymore, is extremely problematic for like me. Like even my dad is like a minority on his street now, and that's just wild. And of course, you know, because I've always had people that say, well, why don't you want your neighborhood to improve? I want it to improve. I love nice things, but I just wish these nice things would have been here when we were living here. Like why weren't we prioritized? And we talk about like violence and different things, but aesthetics are everything. Like I remember being in school and knowing that I went to the shitty school in Houston, like it's the raggedy school. I remember walking around the neighborhood like, dang, it's trash everywhere, they don't come clean up. And so when you grow up thinking that the place that you live in is not that great, how willing are you to preserve and protect the people around you? So people love to talk about all the violence in the community, but a lot of times it comes from just being treated the way we're treated. We see it's benign neglect is one of my favorite things to say, because no, that's what this is. They don't have to come in and like actively hurt us or do anything. They can just neglect the hell out of this neighborhood, hope that we move or hope that we turn inward and start hurting each other, and then they can just give it away to whoever wants it.
But one thing I think which differs between here and Third Ward and say when I lived in DC, when I went to Howard, it was very clear that Howard was in the hood, and I went in like the middle of when gentrification was happening. So we went in 2005, straight hood, and DC is what they call it, commuter town. So people were only coming in to work and going back out to Maryland, Virginia. But from 2000, and it was quick too. It was like from 2005 to 2010 or 11, you just saw how many more people were moving back into the city. And now when I get off on that Shaw Howard Metro stop, it used to be like just desolate. Now they got like beauty salons and a little restaurant. It looks nothing like.
I trained up in Maryland for my job, so we always catch the train and go down to DC to hang out. And just from the years that I've had this job, like to see just kind of, and I'm like, damn, that's all I people here. Like we were at an event at Busboys and Poets, and it was like 50-50 in the room, and I'm just like, how y'all even know about this?
Right.
Who told you?
But my point I was making is like here in Third Ward, I feel like it's not as fast.
Yeah.
And we're still here because there are enough prominent black people that live here that are not going to let it happen like that, or not going to move. But it's sad in places like DC and Chicago, where in the hood, Austin, it's just they have no choice but to sell their homes and move out. So I'm glad y'all are going to do a show, or not show, but an episode on gentrification.
Because it's
affected. I think it's affected everybody who grew up in any hood. I grew up in Third Ward, but I grew up on the other side of 288. But I tell people all the time, my mom's house is the last house standing. Like her whole block is townhouses. And I remember when the people across the street from us, they actually went to Lamar too, like the kids, and used to see them and talk or whatever. And I remember the house got sold, and my mom was like, oh my god, like I can't believe they sold their house. And like come to find out, they had been renting for like 20 something. So there's all of these different dynamics, and it's just crazy. And even I remember my mom being like, these white folks about to come in because the property taxes were slowly inching up. I got zoned to Lamar. Like I was zoned to like McGregor, Ryan, and then Lamar. And she was like,
well, they redid it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's how she knew. Like she knew it was coming because she was like, what white people about to say like kids? Okay, I think I'm gonna start with the high school and trickle it on down. But I think it's just a thing. I still get mad when people like I remember when they renamed it the Museum District. All my friends used to tease me because like I'm from Third Ward, and they was like, not no more. And I was like, fuck that shit. Like I'm from the train. Like don't get it twisted. But it's just affected so many people, and now that now that my mom is divorced and doesn't have a second income, trying to figure out how to still, like we are literally in the process of trying to figure out like how we gonna keep the house once the divorce decrees, whatever, once the ramifications of that are over. And I imagine it's like the same thing that other people have gone to go. Like, are you gonna dip into your retirement? Are you gonna like what are you? And a lot of people don't have those options, so it really. Or you're renting, and like we had no idea that those people had been renting for 20 something years, because I think they have been our neighbors probably for about that long.
All your life,
basically all my life. And so it's just really, and it's one of those things that I struggle with too, because kind of like Lauren, Lauren has called herself bougie, so I'm bougie, and so it's like you like nice shit. Like I want sidewalks that don't have cracks that you like. I'm clumsy. I said that earlier.
Into the neighborhood, exactly. You care about fixing.
Like why can't we? Like I was excited when they put Whataburger further, closer on OST and stuff. I don't have to drive all the way to Calhoun. So you get excited about those things, but then you get. It's kind of like a mind fuck, because you get excited and then you realize, this means that my neighborhood isn't going to look the same, or this means that I got rude ass neighbors now, and I can't really,
that's
like we had people call the police on us, I think, for so we don't have like a driveway at my mom's house or whatever, so we've always parked on the street, and like everybody had their own little parking spot, because we've been we got a corner house. We had they built some townhomes across the street, and kind of had not a standoff with one of the neighbors. We're like, okay, can you move your car? Really just had to be. They were like,
well, I told you a story about what happened to my dad at the freight house.
Yeah.
And these are, like I said, these ain't the young kids, these are the old kids.
The cube went over here?
Yeah. Well, those people in those lofts next door were calling the police to the point where they had to pay one of their frat brothers, come in uniform and be like their patrol security. So when the cops would, show up, there's already a cop here, and he would just explain, or they're just having a meeting.
Now, see,
but just the fact that it was so many black men congregating,
right.
But they're not loud, they 70, like they're old. But it was just, I mean, they not all 70, but you know, like I said, this is not that type of party, right. For them not knowing, they don't know anything about this neighborhood, they don't know anything, they don't have no cultural connection.
Right.
It's a nuisance to them. It's a nuisance.
This is rude.
And how you come into our neighborhood
and be rude?
Right.
But it's that level of entitlement.
And it's happening
entitlement
everywhere. Like I have a really good friend who lives in New Orleans, and like same thing with them. Like white folks are, oh my god, I love New Orleans. It's so much fun. I love the culture. Then when the second line comes through, you want to call the police because they dancing on your car. Have you not been to a second line before? Like this is why you decided to move here. Now you mad.
Right.
Well, like Austin, I always say that if Houston and Dallas could replicate the model like that Austin has as far as like gentrification, they would just be like peaches and cream. Mm-hmm. But I think it's harder in both the cities because like Austin, so like where UT sits, that was like a black area. It's called Clarksville. Mm-hmm. Whole black, like just black, vibrant businesses and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, eminent domain because UT is a government entity, and I'm probably not telling the story all the way accurate, but basically move those people out. Right. And so they had to kind of move over to the east side. And 35, like really, like I-35 is our big highway. It divides like both sides. Well, now you fast forward to like 2018, and there are hardly no black people in the city of Austin. Mm-hmm. Like if you meet a black person that's like from Austin proper, they've always probably lived there. They've been there a long time. Mm-hmm. But like my friends who like moved into the city after college or other people have had to like go to like Round Rock or all these other little places. And so like for me, on the political side, like you have no political power in a city like that. You have no political power in the suburbs. And so you're just like a silent, voiceless minority or majority because you have nothing that's yours. In my vision, I'm not trying to work for nobody anymore.
Right.
So what I really want to see is this shit blow up, be nationwide, so I can be like, yeah, girl, where we going next month? Like,
yeah, I definitely wish the same. Like,
I would love for you to be able to doula full time. Like, I would love for this to be able to pay for like whatever we wanted to do. So you could doula full time, and I could just be in the streets, you know, with my fist up screaming.
Yeah. So that would be. Yeah, I'm on the same page. Like.
And it is. I'm speaking into existence. It is. Like, it's on.
I see that. Like, when I'm sitting here talking, I can see how your conversations, and I look at your podcast, and they're all like an hour or so. And not that that's a problem, but I can see how they go for so long because y'all have the gift of gab, so that is your gift, and your topics are so on point and they're necessary. Like these are conversations, and especially being, and I don't want to, you know,
just smart as fuck,
right? And I want to know like what books do you read, because that your vocabulary is awesome, and your knowledge of like just science and everything is just amazing, and you know, you're two black girls just. I want to, after this, I want to, if I haven't already, I did shout it out on Under the Radar, but I'm just going to, and they need to listen to 2WokeGurls, because these are conversations that we're all having on our own. Like I've had this conversation with my friends, with either be college, at school, with my black co-workers, like, so kudos, it's going to happen.
Thank you.
And you can follow y'all, you have a website, right?
Yeah, 2WokeGurls.com. You can follow us on Instagram at 2WokeGurls Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at 2WokeGurls. And then Gabby, please tell them, because y'all think that we having good conversations. Gabby is giving you the information you need for your everyday life.
I am oh.em.gyn on Instagram.
And your podcast am I weekly? Or?
It's weekly, so yeah, we're dropping weekly. Thursdays is the drop date. And yeah, that's it. And we're looking forward to June 19th will be the 1 year anniversary, and we're having a live show. So we're really excited. So we want you to
I will dress up for that.
Yeah, we'll dress up. We're gonna be cute for that.
We're gonna be cute for that. But that's because it's our people.
Yeah, I might even put some makeup on. Like it might be really serious. Oh yeah, you can also follow me on everything at Sankofa. So the letter I, Sankofa. It's a lot of ignorant shit. It's not safe for work. So like enter at your own risk.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Thanks for having us.